I'm a Londoner born and bred. 3 generations of my family have lived and worked alongside the Thames. And I want to show you how today it's even busier and a bigger part of our lives than ever.
Don't move! It's very difficult, to interview you while I'm counting.
How many have you got in there now?
God knows.
My journey will take me to its furthest reaches, from the Cotswolds in the west, cool, some size quarry, isn't it? To where the river meets the sea in the east.
They're all laughing over that side. Keep a straight face. I'm doing my best.
I'll meet people whose working lives depend on the Thames and who feel as passionately about it as I do.
We love our Thames. We're so lucky.
Best job in the world, Tom. Well, apart from yours, obviously.
I'll go behind the scenes of its most iconic landmarks. Oh, wow. Bang! And discover its hidden gems.
They do look sci-fi, don't they?
This is the River Thames as you've never seen it before. Hectic, hard-working, breathtaking, awe-inspiring. I can't wait. The Thames does a lot of different jobs for us, and some of them we never give a second thought to. It helps a rich variety of natural habitats to thrive all along its banks. It provides millions of people with clean water. But I'm starting my journey this week with some rather dirtier work.
Look at that view. This is the London Borough of Greenwich, and from here I can see a whole host of famous structures, both ancient and modern. But there's one important one I can't see because it's way underground, the London sewage system.
It might not be great dinner party conversation, but sewage is a fact of life. London's sewage system's old. It was built in Victorian times, and the number of people now using it has quadrupled. And when it's overwhelmed, it has to discharge sewage into the Thames. So 50 metres below the river, a £4 billion super sewer is being built. The Thames Tideway tunnel is 15 miles long. It's being dug from 24 locations across London, from Acton in the west to Beckton in the east. Eventually, they'll all join up. I'm at the Greenwich site to see how it's being built.
I love coming onto sites like this. They're a clash of lots of different bits of history. Look, over there, that's the old 19th century pumping station. Up there, that's the Docklands Light Railway. And I'll show you how close we are to the Thames. Can you see all that light playing on the underside of that viaduct? Down there is Deptford Creek, which goes straight into the River Thames. But the nitty-gritty's over this way.
And what I mean by the nitty-gritty is this giant hole. Down there, a section of London's new waste pipe will be tunnelled. At ground level, Alan and Alfie are bolting together huge metal rings, known as cans.
Alan?
Yes?
They are beautiful, aren't they?
Oh, yes, they are, very much.
Stick one of those in the Tate Modern and people would walk around it for hours.
Yes, they would.
What are they?
They're the seal cans for the launch of the machine. There's 8 in total. Each one of these weighs 10.2 tons. And once they're in the ground, we backfill them with concrete, and once the concrete's set, this is what we launch the machine from.
The tunnel boring machine, to be precise. It burrows its way through the ground, pushing against the cans as it does, so they need to take a lot of force.
Are they just held together by these bolts?
Yeah, nut and bolt, that's all it is, but quite a few of them.
How long do you reckon they'll last?
120 years. That's what's guaranteed.
Yeah.
I hope they don't lose the receipt.
It looks like a big version of what you'd get in a DIY shop, don't they?
Yes, but they're bigger boats than what you get in a DIY shop, as you can see.
Can I have a go?
Yes, you may. If you want to try the torquing.
What, this?
No, this one here.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yes, this is a big torque.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Right,
And you just yank down on it?
Yeah, pull it down until it comes apart there. Go on, keep going.
Can you get it any further down than that?
Yeah, ready?
Oh,
That's it.
oh.
Then if we do the same with the top one.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
Until it comes apart.
Oh,
That's it.
explain to me how that works then.
When it comes apart, that tells you it's at the correct torque settings.
So that means they're all going to be exactly the same
torque,
tightness.
yeah.
I love all this.
With the cans securely fastened together, it's ready to begin its descent.
That massive crane, it's all being controlled by that bloke there with a handset. It's so simple, but so impressive. That's real engineering in action.
It reminds me just what an impressive feat London's old sewage system was. With no fancy machines or technology, it was dug by hand.
As most Londoners know, London sewers were created by Joseph Bazalgette in Victorian times. It was a colossal piece of work for those days. 1,100 miles of sewers, 318 million bricks. And he was a shrewd boy. He designed it for 4 million Londoners, even though there were only 2 million people living in London at that time. It was a good piece of forward planning. But now there are 9 million people in London and they do an awful lot of pooing. So Bazalgette's system has been overwhelmed. But never fear. Down that hole is the machine that's going to sort it all out. And I think I'm going down there. Marshall, where's the lift?
It's over here.
Over here? Oh, sweet mother of mine. This? It's a cage, it's like a lion's cage.
This cage on a rope is called a man rider, and frankly, I'm not feeling particularly manly.
You're going to need a lot of straw in the bottom if I go down in that, mate.
But next, I take the plunge
It looks like the bowels of hell in here.
and dig around for old poo.
I've just wet my trousers. I don't think it was excitement either.
I'm in Greenwich, seeing how a new super sewer called the Thames Tideway is being built. The system is being tunnelled 50 metres underground, so if I want to see the project close up, I've got to go 50 metres underground too. In that.
Thanks a lot. There's nothing much to hold on to, apart from this. Marshall, slow as you can, mate. Nice and gentle. We're going. Oh! I'm not going to look down. I think that would be a total disaster. I'm going over the edge now. I can just see it. Right, here we go, going down. I don't know why that's causing my knees to sink, but it is. Didn't like that. Lovely landing. Thank you very much. Hey up.
Oh, I made it. And I was hardly scared at all. The new system will connect to the existing sewage system rather than replacing it. But how's that going to work? Rob Margheriti-Smith is the manager here.
Rob, we've got this massive hole in the ground here. We've got this horizontal, massive pipe here. And that works in conjunction with Bazalgette's old system?
Ultimately, yes. And they intercept the old Bazalgette sewage system, so when that overflows, instead of discharging into the Thames, which is the current design of the system, instead they'll discharge into the shafts, drop down into the new Tideway tunnel.
Where are all the old sewers? How do they fit into this system?
So the old sewerage network is a lot higher in the ground than this.
Yeah.
So the Tideway project's significantly deeper, and it allows all of the old overflow locations to discharge by gravity into the new system.
It'll take overflow from 34 different locations, diverting it away from the Thames and into a treatment plant for cleaning instead.
Who's the lady in the little house, Rob?
So this is St Barbara, She's the patron saint of miners, tunnellers and people who work with explosives. So all of the guys who come to work down in the tunnel of a day, they all pass by her and she can just keep watchful eye over us and make sure everything is nice and safe.
Has she been blessed?
She has been blessed, yes. Father Kevin from the local church came down a few weeks back, blessed both St Barbara and also Annie, the tunnelling machine.
The tunnelling machine is called Annie?
She is, yes. After Annie Maunder. So Annie Maunder is an astronomer who used to work at the Royal Greenwich Observatory, and she was a great lady for her time and pioneering in the sector.
It's nice to know that there's two women keeping an eye on things.
Always looked after by a good, strong lady.
Well, now I have to meet Annie.
Wow. It looks like the bowels of hell in here, doesn't it?
Welcome to my home. On the other side of that blue screen is the tunnel boring machine,
Yeah.
Annie. She's parked up and ready to launch.
How do you launch her?
So these steel cans that we've seen lowered down the shaft today,
Yeah.
they get pushed in right up to the back of the tunnelling machine, but it gives the machine a surface to push off. So the machine can advance with up to 3,000 tonnes of force to push it forwards and bite into the ground.
And bite she does, with a vicious set of cutting discs and scrapers. As her cutting head rotates, she'll leave behind her space for 3,062 concrete rings, forming a 4.6 kilometre section of the new sewer system.
And what will it mean to the Thames and to the people of London?
A huge environmental and ecological benefit. It will prevent tens of millions of tonnes of sewage from being discharged into the Thames on an annual basis.
The scale of this project is epic. It'll take 8 years in total and is due to finish in 2025.
In a few years' time, the top of this enormous shaft will be capped, and about 15 metres from the surface there'll be a big hole, and whenever there's a storm, out of it will pour sewage and stuff from the streets and stuff from our houses, and it'll drop down to this level like an enormous toilet. And rather than coating London, it'll go hurtling down that pipe straight to Beckton Sewage Treatment Centre. And that'll be pretty good for the environment, won't it?
It might be shocking to think that today, tens of millions of tonnes of raw sewage still go into the Thames. But it's actually much cleaner than it was 200 years ago. Because back then, waste was everywhere.
My ancestors, a lot of whom lived downriver from here to the east, would have had a totally different experience of London to the one that we have today, because the capital stank. It stank because of all the horse poo generated by the thousands of working horses, from food rotting in the streets, from burning coal from the tanneries which were on both banks, and of course there was the smell of human poo which went whoosh straight into the river. And in the first half of the 19th century, the population doubled. So you can imagine the amount of excrement that there was in our beloved river. I quote a guy who was writing at the time. He said that the Thames was a pale brown colour with an unpleasant smell and a dense cloud of fecal matter. Nice.
And if that wasn't bad enough, in the summer of 1858, London was gripped by a heat wave which caused all the grotty stuff in the Thames to ferment and let off an awful stench. It was known as the Great Stink, and at the time, locals believed it was the cause of several outbreaks of cholera.
Londoners were terrified of the Great Stink, and they had every reason to be. And the MPs couldn't stand it either. They even had to have some sittings of Parliament suspended, which was obviously taking things too far.
With the stench right up their own noses, the government had to do something, so over 1,000 miles of sewers were built. Now, a team from the Institute for Digital Archaeology wants to mark the importance of the Great Stink at Oxford's History of Science Museum. How? By recreating the smell itself.
Roger, why on earth are you trying to bring back the Great Stink?
The Great Stink was one of the great, I would say, pivotal moments in the industrial, the cultural history of London.
We're trying to understand what the smell experience of Victorian London was like. Gives us an insight into the industry of the time, the experience of life at the time.
And when you go into a museum and want to learn about Victorian London, you should get a dose of that smell.
But the Great Stink no longer exists. The Thames is no longer brown. Yet these guys are here planning to capture a scent from 160 years ago.
How are you going to do it?
You can directly access the compounds, the chemicals that produce odours, then basically create a kind of essence from those materials.
Like a perfume?
Yeah, just like a perfume.
I've just wet my trousers. I don't think it was excitement either.
160 years may seem like a long time ago, but in archaeological terms, it's fairly recent.
Give the man a trowel.
The layer of sediment I'm collecting isn't too deep.
I just take out like a little paw.
Yeah, that's exactly
From
right.
here.
Yep.
It's also easily identified by the black soot which runs through it, though the Thames is trying its best to hold on to its history.
Every time I stick my trowel in, a wave comes and washes the stuff out again. Here we are. Oh, it's furious, this tide. Stay back! If you say that firmly, apparently it usually works.
There we go, that's perfect.
Yeah.
And then we can select that there.
Yeah. I thought it would smell terrible, but it's like a very mild fish soup.
Once the essence is distilled down a little bit, it would start to smell just a little bit more frightening.
So what do we do with this now?
So it's back to the lab.
Which is in Oxford?
In Oxford, that's right.
Roger, I do think you should stop now. The tide is in. See ya.
Once processed, the scent will eventually be inhaled at a Smells of Victorian Britain exhibition, and I'll get a sneak preview later. Lucky me. Today, of course, the Thames is also a source of clean water for millions of people. But the journey from treatment centre to tap is fraught with peril. Every day, 595 million litres of water are lost to leakage. Supplier Thames Water spend an eye-watering £360 million a year trying to fix the problem. I'm off to the outskirts of London to find out how.
The problem is that a lot of those pipes are really old. 60% of them are 60 years old. Some of them are 150 years old. And because they're so ancient, they tend to break, and that is why London is leaking. So I'm here in Loughton to meet some of the people who are trying to stem the flow of those leaks.
Thames Water has a legion of 300 leak detectives.
Hi guys, who's the governor?
Leading this team is Akeem Adenuga.
All this road here, there's possibility of a burstment.
Yeah.
So we're investigating between Cedar Drive and Betteridge Lane.
Have you any idea how much water this leak is?
It's losing 2.7 litres per second.
Per second?
Yes.
2.7 litres a second, that's
Yes.
a lot.
So hopefully, by the end of today, we should be able to get that done.
And I can help you?
Fingers crossed. Let's go find this leak.
Local meter readings are suspiciously high, a sure sign that something's amiss. Every second, 2.7 litres are being lost here, which could cost up to £100,000 a year.
What's under these two little metal hatches?
You have the valve here that is off that main there.
And how do they find it? By listening to a stick, obviously.
Can you hear anything?
Yep, so I've got a little rumble on this.
Can I have a listen?
Yes.
So a little rumble means that there is a leak?
Yep.
Can you hear anything?
Yeah, but it's very, very faint.
Yeah.
It's not very sophisticated, is it?
There is a lot of science gone into it. So the sound travels at different speeds through different materials.
Yeah.
This is a natural amplifier. That shape, that bell shape, naturally amplifies the sounds. There's a resonance chamber inside, and this is also the correct width to capture the right frequencies that we want to listen to.
And I just thought it was a little bit of metal with a block of wood on it.
Yeah.
Shows how ignorant I am.
The pipe we're tracking is 1/3 of a mile long. We've patrolled the far end on Cedar Drive, and now we're recceing the other end on Etheridge Road.
Similar noise, but this is quite a little bit less.
So we know that the leak is somewhere between Cedar Drive and here.
And here.
This is CSI Loughton. Gradually, we're narrowing down the possibilities in order to discover the guilty leak.
And I've just been told our lead leak detective is royalty. Oh, come on, they're just winding up the new boy, aren't they?
Your name's Prince Akeem Adenuga.
That's correct, yes.
You're not really a prince, are you?
I am.
You are a prince? Where from?
From Lagos State, Nigeria.
Why did you come over here?
Well, in the first instance, I came to study. And then after my degree program, I got a job with Thames Water. And since then, I've never looked back.
Are you tempted to go back and stay and just be a prince?
When I retired, I would like to go back home and make sure that my community have access to clean water. Coming from England, there's something I could take back home.
Yeah, we don't realise how lucky we are just having clean water that comes out of a tap.
You don't realise it, honestly. Water is life.
I couldn't have put it better myself. England's southeast is the most water-stressed part of the UK, thanks to its increasing population and relatively dry climate. And the Environment Agency predicts that unless things change, the capital will face major water shortages by 2050. I imagine the leaky pipes aren't helping.
How many leaks do you reckon Thames Water deals with every week?
Roughly about 1,400.
Wow. So it's a really important job, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Are we any closer to finding our pesky leak?
We've got a much louder noise here.
Ah, so now we know that the noise is bigger here than anywhere else. We've narrowed it down again, presumably.
We have, yes.
How do we proceed from here?
So from now, we'll just get a device that we call a correlator.
Yeah.
Which is two sensors that talk to each other.
Yeah.
And then it'll narrow the leak down even more for us to pinpoint.
Yes! Get on with it. I can't bear the suspense.
So, 2 microphones, 2 different colours, both attached to this processor.
Can you hear that noise?
Yep. So if you listen.
Yeah. It's like something in a horror film.
It may just be a meaningless din to me, but that's our leak calling, and this clever machine can work out where it's hiding.
The higher the frequency noise, the closer the leak is. Yeah. And it tells us 18.1 metres from blue.
So we've got it. We've nailed it.
Potentially.
We're going to move on. I've got a neighbour there, and she's moaning that her water has been turned off. This is part of the problem.
We do ask their permission first.
Sure. We're going as fast as we can.
With the area of the leak hopefully pinpointed, it's action stations.
Just here? Yep. There we go. So that's 18.1 metres. So this is where the leak is. But are they right? We'll just have to wait and see.
Next, the clock's ticking in the search for the leaky pipe.
The cavalry are here.
You got here so quickly.
Because of the amount of water that is being wasted.
And an awful stink from the past gets right up my nose.
Jesus. God, that is so disgusting.
I've been with one of Thames Water's specialist leak detection teams in Loughton, on the trail of a hidden leak that's wasting over 160 litres of water every minute. They think they've pinpointed exactly where it is, but there's only one way to know for sure, and that's to call in the repair team to dig up the road.
Darren's the governor.
How are we doing?
You got here so quickly, it must have been about 10 minutes after the other guys left. How come you were so speedy?
Because of the amount of water that they believe is being wasted.
So this is a bit of an emergency?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Now do you just start excavating?
Hard graft and toil, getting it done.
I'll watch.
So will I.
It's a messy and expensive job, which could be for nothing if the detection team have sent them to the wrong place.
How often do you come to a site like this and find you're struggling to find the leak?
It does happen,
yeah,
but they're successful more than they're not.
Yeah.
The leak repair team are the emergency service you've never heard of, working round the clock 365 days a year. Without them, 18 million litres of water would be lost each day. That's 7 Olympic-sized swimming pools.
So here we go. We struck gold.
Is that the leak?
There's the leak.
At last, but there's a problem.
The water has mixed with the silt, so now we've got just pure slop.
And the clock is ticking.
Hello, Charlene. Etheridge Road, IG10. Yeah, within the hour. Thank you.
Darren's had to call in a vacuum excavator to suck up the slop.
This is it.
And they've wasted no time.
The cavalry are here.
You like your eyes are shining. You like that, don't you?
This machine is like an elephant drinking out of a muddy pool. And in just minutes, the suspect pipe is in sight.
You got the leak? Oh, yeah. That's bang on, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's tiny.
It's just like a hairline fracture.
The split is only about 2 millimetres wide and 50 mil long. It's such a tiny crack, but it's wasting so much water. And they found it first time. Talk about needles and haystacks.
And this is what's going to repair it?
This is a 4-inch repair clamp. It just wraps round the pipe. That's the seal, bolts together.
With vast amounts of water lost each day, Thames Water are overhauling their network, swapping out leaky old pipes with new plastic ones. They've been at it since 2006 and have replaced 2,000 kilometres so far. But as that's just over 6% of their network, they've still got a long way to go.
You've been doing it quite a few years now, haven't you? Do you still get a buzz from digging a hole?
Absolutely. Since exactly the same as I did on day one.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
The river hasn't always been as well looked after as it is now. I'm heading to a lab near Oxford for a sensory reminder of those bygone days. The team from the Institute for Digital Archaeology is using Victorian-era mud samples we collected from the Thames to resurrect its smelly past.
It's amazing, isn't it, that science can now bring back smells from key moments in our history. It's modern-day time travel, tiny little bits of information hurtling towards us from the past so we can engage with them in the here and now. Hi, Smellies.
Tony, hey, how you doing?
All right, this is where you operate, yeah?
This is our home base. This is where the magic happens.
Dr. Alexei Karanovska and Roger Michael use a combination of archaeology and technology to recreate the smells of key historical moments and artefacts.
Do you keep lots of smells in this lab?
We do. So I've got some examples here. I'm not going to tell you what they are,
All right.
but maybe you'd like to try them out.
Yeah. I'm not very confident about my sense of smell, but I'll have a go.
So the way these nebulizers work is you just need to tip it slightly and it produces a smell cloud, a very, very fine mist, which you can then breathe in.
It's like an envelope.
Wow, that's pretty good.
That's really good. That's really good. Yeah.
Is it envelope?
Well,
distilled envelope?
Very close, very close. So this is a sort of precursor to the envelope.
Yeah.
So this is actually the smell of the Magna Carta. Very.
You're joking?
No, it's absolutely true. So this is an early copy of the Magna Carta.
1217?
Yeah, 1217.
I think I can even detect King John's BO in there.
Yeah.
Well, I would like the viewers to breathe in on the count of 3 and smell. Ready? 1, 2, 3. It is. It couldn't be anything else.
And this is an actual extraction made from the Magna Carta itself, so you've gotten a few molecules of Magna Carta inside of you now.
There is now a hole in the Magna Carta.
We collect the smell of the Magna Carta by collecting the particles that are reaching your nose from the document. We're not taking anything away from it. It isn't outgassing on its own, but we're collecting that and then converting it into these odor experiences.
I must tell you the truth. When I first knew I was doing this, I thought it would all be a bit hippie and dippy. But actually, there's hard science here, isn't it?
There is, and what's amazing about this area is that there's so much virgin territory still to explore. For example, our taste buds are all mapped out. Only about 8 to 10% of our smell receptors have been mapped out.
I'm pretty sure Ode a Great Stink will be a bit whiffier. Extracts from our Thames mudbank samples go into a blender, along with an artefact Roger uncovered on the foreshore.
I found this bit of shoe leather at one of the deepest strata, and it's, I think, probably pre-Victorian. Very, very smelly, good organic matter that'll make for a good addition to the smellscape that we're trying to create. I think.
It's got a smell. It's coming out, the smell.
It's perfume.
It's mixing up, yeah. What actually are the component parts of this little mixture that you've got?
So the stuff that we collected from the Thames and the shoe are well decayed, and the smelly chemicals that we find in them are actually a byproduct of that process. So anaerobic decay without oxygen of plant and vegetable matter, leads to the creation of these smelly compounds.
I get it now, I get it.
There's the...
Disgusting. It's disgusting.
It's certainly a bit rank, but it's not yet the full-blown assault on the senses that triggered Bazalgette's remarkable sewage system. To get that smell, the mix is separated into sediment and liquid, then distilled.
So what's happening is this mixture here is vaporising. It's moving through the column, and it's condensing at this end and ending up in this vessel here.
Why do you have to do that?
So essentially, it's a distillation process. So it's just to concentrate the smell that we've already produced.
So it makes the smell more intense and more profound.
Exactly. If you want to get the full experience, to know what it was like to be sitting in Westminster on that day in 1858 when that great stink rose up from the Thames, here it is. For the first time since 1858, the great stink.
Jesus. Oh. God, that is so disgusting.
And that's what they said in 1858, and that's why they built that amazing sewer system. The city changed, government regulation changed. It was that smell that did it.
I've always thought I've been tough about smells. You know, give me a baby, I'll change it. But this...
Really and truly, it was a smell that changed history.
It's often quite difficult to get a real sense of the past, isn't it? But the great thing about this project is that they've distilled the past into a bottle. One sniff, and you're there.
Just a few miles down the road is the city of dreaming spires, Oxford. These days, the Thames here is known for its leisure activities like punting and rowing. But historically, the river played a huge role in shaping the city.
Oxford can trace its history back to Saxon times. It was a major Saxon stronghold because the Thames divided the country between north and south. So if the Saxons built a settlement on the south bank, they could defend themselves against the Vikings coming down from York or wherever. As for this bridge, well, that's kind of standard early 19th century, but there's been one here since 1085. Prior to that, there was simply a ford there, and people drove their oxen across it, so this area became known as You Got It.
The Saxons saw great potential in the land around here. The Domesday Book records the land along the riverside bank as having been cultivated into meadows for farming.
In their time, the Saxons knocked up a lot of mills and they diverted the water to power them. They also used the Thames as a water highway, bringing goods back and forth, grain from London, beer back from the breweries in Reading. Fast forward a bit to the 13th century and Oxford University is starting to develop on the banks of the Thames. Gradually over time, the town's morphing from being a market town into a university town. Then in the mid-17th century, water is diverted from the Thames to power the paper mills and the paper's sold to the Oxford University Press.
The Thames has always supported the city's growth. But it's also the reason that part of it remains untouched. On the edge of this bustling city is Port Meadow, a bastion of tranquility. Thanks to the river, it's part of a floodplain, one reason these lowlands are impossible to build on.
If you look over there, you'll see a site that's really unusual for a patch of land so close to the centre of a city, grazing cows and horses.
Legend has it that Port Meadow's 300 acres were gifted to the freemen of Oxford for the grazing of animals by Alfred the Great as a reward for protecting the kingdom from the horrible marauding Danes. And while Oxford may have moved on since then, this floodplain has remained the same for centuries.
This part of the Thames has been used in a whole host of different ways throughout its long history, from powering mills to warding off the Vikings. But always, it's given the people of Oxford what they need.
Next, I discover how to haggle for a nature reserve in the heart of London.
What I want is for you to give me the reservoirs and £15 million.
All along the Thames, from the Cotswolds to the estuary, the river gives life to a rich diversity of habitats.
This may look like the Norfolk Broads, but in fact, I'm in London SW13. How come? Well, 40-odd years ago, an English naturalist had an idea, which must have seemed crazy at the time, to create a wet wilderness in our capital city.
The London Wetland Centre by the river near Barnes is part of the Wild Fowl and Wetlands Trust, who operate 10 sites across the country. But this centre is unique among them because it's in the heart of a vast, sprawling city, offering 100 acres of wetlands to explore, containing a huge amount of wildlife. Many of the animals can't be found anywhere else in the capital. One of the city's managers is Nick Oliver.
Why build a wetland centre in London?
If people are to care about the natural world, they need to see it, feel it and experience it. And whilst the Trust has acquired sites all over the UK, these are quite often in very rural locations. Not many people live there. But if you could create a nature reserve here in London, it's going to be a winner. You're going to get people and wildlife together.
These lakes, surrounded by the Thames, were originally Victorian freshwater reservoirs built to provide clean drinking water. But 30-odd years ago, they became redundant. Sir Peter Scott, wildlife conservationist, painter and son of Scott of the Antarctic, had set up the Wild Fowl and Wetlands Trust in the 1940s and had always dreamt of creating an urban wetlands for Londoners. When these reservoirs came out of service, he didn't mess about.
How did he get his hands on this amazing site?
There's a number of stories, but the one I always stick with is that Scott happens to be at an event in town. He sees the chief exec of Thames Water and he makes a beeline for him. And if the story's to be believed, before Scott even has a chance to open his mouth, the chief exec says, "Stop, Sir Peter, I know what you want. You want me to give you the Barn Elms reservoirs." And Scott is meant to have said, no, I don't want the reservoirs. What I want is for you to give me the reservoirs and £15 million, because I want to build a wetland centre.
The concrete reservoirs were drained, smashed up, and the materials reused to construct 100 acres of lagoons, marshes, lakes and reed beds. It's one of the most diverse wildlife nature reserves in the whole of the UK. They've recorded over 250 species of bird in the last 20 years.
It's hard to believe I'm in Richmond-on-Thames, isn't it?
To attract wildfowl from as far afield as Arctic Russia, nothing has been left to chance, or for that matter, to nature. Reserve manager Adam Salmon is showing me round.
So although this environment looks natural, it's actually very artfully manipulated in order to lure birds here that wouldn't otherwise stay.
Yeah, all the different habitats you see around here are designed for different species.
The island habitats are set up to suit the tastes of different species. For example, clearing vegetation from the shingle attracts the little ringed plover that migrate from Africa in the spring. It's a mammoth task that requires year-round maintenance. This place is unrecognisable from the old reservoirs that used to sit here. The only thing that remains the same is the water supply, which still comes from the Thames, using the original Victorian pump house and pipes built over 180 years ago.
Tiddlers in a jar, Nick, that's certainly something I remember.
Something like that, Tony. I'm just seeing what freshwater insects and other creatures we've got living in here to get an idea of how good the water quality is.
So what's the water like upstream of the centre?
You'll find there might be runoff from farmland, which has percolated its way down into the Thames. But by the time it's been through things like our reed beds here, that's taken out some of those pollutants.
So part of what you're doing is actually cleaning the water?
Yeah, that's right. That's what wetlands do.
Can I have a look?
Yeah, by all means, come down.
Oh, amazing. What have you found?
Just things like this little critter here. That's a damselfly nymph. So that will spend perhaps 2-3 years living underwater before finally emerging as a damselfly. There's this critter here.
It looks like a stick insect.
That's because that's exactly what it is. It's a water stick insect. These aren't necessarily a great indicator because they've got a snorkel at the back end. So that's how that one's breathing. But then when I see something like this little swimming stick is a really good indicator. This is a species of caddisfly which really hates pollution.
When Sir Peter Scott first started the Trust, it was predominantly to protect birds. Now, more conservation is being done than ever before.
We're placing more and more emphasis on the importance of wetlands for not just wildlife, for humanity as well, because they provide so many different services for us. And one of the things is providing fresh water.
Wetlands like this are under threat from developers and are, in fact, the fastest disappearing habitat in the world. Over half of global wetlands vanished in the last century, making sites like this even more precious.
So we should stop just banging on about trees and forests, but bang on about wetlands
Yeah,
as well.
if you could do that, that's our job done.
Sir Peter Scott died in 1989, so he never saw this urban dream of his realised. But his final painting depicted his vision for it. A wetland where city and nature can coexist harmoniously.
The smell of ponds and pondweed and the slitheriness of tadpoles are sensations that virtually all of us remember from our childhood, aren't they? But certainly I never understood that they were also part of our natural heritage, one that needed protecting. And really, it's Sir Peter Scott's legacy that made so many Londoners understand quite how wonderful wetlands can be. Oh, blimey, what's happening?
Next time on the Thames,
oh my God, more?
I discover the river's royal connections.
Probably the only surviving example of one of Elizabeth I's dresses.
Try my hand at a princely pastime.
Drop.
Yes! Feel the force of the sovereign swan.
I'm going to be bruised along here tomorrow.
And explore the birthplace of the crowns of rock and roll.
It's just like a dream.